round of 8 playoff field ever.
Yeah, it's flipped upside down. Normally we have somebody plus 24, and maybe the worst guy is -8. This time it's Denny Hamlin, the highest at +8, and Joey Logano all the way down there at -24. And I really think that's the story, Jeff, of this round, is when I look at the 16 that entered the playoffs and the 8 that are remaining, we didn't really lose any long shots. We got all the favorites, to use some Vegas terminology, we got all the big favorites still involved to try to advance.
Yeah, a lot of the high-quality teams, the best teams throughout the year, I feel like have advanced, and it's it's going to be a tight point battle, as we've seen this playoff grid always is. And this race in particular has been wild. We've had a lot of crazy races here, and you don't want to fall behind having Talladega and then, of course, Martinsville after, two racetracks that are very difficult.
Ross Chastain out of the 2025 playoffs, but Jeff, it was not for a lack of enthusiasm and effort last Sunday at the Roval, was it?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, Ross just did not have his best day on the smaller things, let's call it the details. Pushing really hard on pit road speed, ended up having it in the wrong gear, and this last lap, kind of plunged for life, just trying to make something happen. Ended up, and spinning out. Denny Hamlin ended up losing some positions. But what you really take away from it is, you work so hard to get here, and then you want to execute. And he just didn't have his best day on execution. And his work ethic is high, his care level is high, and I know that hurt him. But that team will stand behind him, and they'll be fine.
Yeah, something a little bit of a miss so far for the one in practice. He's multiple seconds off. Cars driving by him left and right. I don't know if this is by design to get going slow. I know there's a few tire concerns. Danielle, how's it going off your road?
Yeah, Steve, I talked to Ross Chastain this morning, and I said, how were you able to let last week's disappointment and playoff elimination go? He said, I didn't let it go. I just got out of bed the next day and got back to work, but I still haven't let it go. I'm going to try to go win the next 4. Interesting, you said they seem a bit slow now, but among all the ovals, this is, by the numbers in the next gen era, Ross's best oval. And as crew chief Phil Surgeon said, Stevie, being out of the playoffs now wants to give us a little bit more freedom to start trying stuff for next year, and I can also be a little bit more flexible tomorrow on strategy.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to look at the glass half full opportunity. They would much rather be in the playoffs, but what can you do now that you're out? And that's just it. You can start looking ahead for next year. Just what did you want to try? What can you learn? So it'll be interesting to see how that one reacts.
Yeah, the truth is, not letting it go, right, is kind of the admission, hey, I had a bad day. I feel like I let my team down. But eventually you have to, right? Chris Chastain to the top of the board after riding down for a few laps, kind of at slow pace. But, we've all made mistakes, and we've all had regrets for the things that we did on and off the racetrack. It's just part of competition and part of life. You have to learn from it and move on.
That was a very interesting start to practice because obviously Chastain has a fast car. He's now on the top of the board. So we saw this tire at Kansas. We saw some Penske cars have some flat rear tires. We've seen flat tires here before. Normally it happens under low air. So I don't know if this was by design, if the one of Ross Chastain didn't like something the way his car felt. But either way, it was, to me, very clear that he rode 3 slow. I mean, multiple seconds off laps. And then his 4th was the top of the board, and his 5th also good. It would be a top 3 lap.
So, Steve, you mentioned that. We saw this with Ryan Blaney 2 weeks ago in Kansas where they lost a tire. We saw it with Ryan Blaney here this spring as well. Lost a tire and hit the wall. So, yeah, maybe taking it easy early in the run. What's your crew chief? You would want your driver to do that.
Yeah, I can see if you feel like that's what happens. Because under yellow, you get some pace laps to get the air pressure built up. Under green, maybe we put a little bit more air in. As now we watch the 77 of Carson Hocevar, who's second on the board. Rough 1 and 2. You're just going to see kind of the back of the car bottoming out. You see a little bit of that smoke off the rear diffuser, the vertical strengths off the diffuser. And what makes that difficult is the other end of the racetrack is relatively smooth down here at 3 and 4. So what you want at one end for a setup doesn't really fit the other end.
Did you take it easy in the pace car ride today, Jeff, or were you mean to your passengers?
Well, that was a brand new.
We
go to Canada that we drove back.
Reiterated by Steve.
I peeled the sticker off brand new.
I think it's fair to say that it went as fast today as it will ever go in his life.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
But you pushing it, Jeff.
I agree.
Even in a passenger car, do you feel those bumps in 1 and 2?
Oh yeah, for sure. And it gets different as you run up the racetrack or down the racetrack. Steve and I talked about it when we were in the car. We felt like in qualifying, it would probably be the smart thing to do to run the second lane, not run the bottom, not run the top, because that's where it's the smoothest. And so you can make lap time like that, because the lower you can run the car, the more downforce it makes. And if you cannot run the bumps, that allows your team to get the car lower in the back. So that would be that's what he and I decided we would do. We would work
That's your
together.
plan?
Yep.
I like it. I like it. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., nice little finish for them at the roll. They wound up 19th in that race and had the fresh tires at the end of the race and some momentum for that team, Jeff, at Hayek Motorsports.
Yeah, this is a team that obviously, it's one of the smaller teams in the series. They do a lot of this by themselves. They don't have a great big affiliation with the team, and they do a really good job. Of course, Ricky's the right guy for that too. He's a really good race car driver. He pushes the limit, finds all the speed in that race car. They do a good job for a small team. A really good job.
Yeah, and third fastest today, and the mile and a half have been, pretty good for that race team. And I think, Steve, folks will forget maybe they had some speed in Kansas. They have legit top 15 speed in Kansas and got caught up in a late incident.
This team does that. There are certain weeks that they struggled, and certain weeks they just have really, really good speed. I think when you talk about a small team, Jeff, that's what you have to do. Instead of trying to be great everywhere, you have to kind of pick and choose your moments of development and improvement, and we definitely see them.
See Mike Kelly taking a look on for that 47 team who leads that charge in Hayek Motorsports. Justin Haley is fourth quickest on the board. And I chatted with Ryan Sparks, Jeff, about kind of their progression through the year. And he said, listen, we're really happy with our Saturdays. We just have to execute our Sundays a little bit better. And then he mentioned the metric. He said, we just keep putting Group 1, and it just puts us behind every week. And you can't seem to kind of climb out of that mess.
Well, it's so hard when you do get back in points and you're not finishing great. You're going to go out early and qualify. And that is, for most racetracks, that's definitely a disadvantage. So, the only thing you can do is ultimately just start finishing better. With better finishes, you climb the points, and all that gets better. I know a disappointing year for them. I know going into the year, I think we all expected better results from that 7 car. And I'm sure the off season is going to be a lot of work, a lot of effort to turning it around and get this car running more like they expected to run.
You look at the spring for Justin Haley here at Vegas. Started 33rd, wound up finishing 14th. And Steve, I know they're got to be looking forward to Talladega next week. Finished 3rd. And remember that at Daytona. Almost put himself in the playoffs in the final race of the regular season.
Well, we forget just how impressive Justin Haley was in the Xfinity Series on those speedways. It seemed like he just had a natural ability for it.